Mitch McConnell needs to get off his ass and do something. People are getting killed in the streets in America and nobody's acting, nobody.
Representative Tim Ryan from Ohio is outraged, as many of us are, over Mitch McConnell's efforts in blocking any type of gun control legislation in the Senate. So there have been various examples of bills that have passed in the House, and as soon as it gets to the Senate, McConnell blocks it. He did something very similar when it came to protecting our elections from Russian meddling or foreign meddling. Now, just to give you a few examples, a ban on assault weapons was introduced back in January, but has not been voted on either in the House or the Senate. A prior ban, which was enacted in 1994, expired in 2004. So the House recently passed a background check bill, and it went to the Senate, and Mitch McConnell did what Mitch McConnell does. He blocked it, didn't go to the floor for a vote. Now, I want to hear a little more from Tim Ryan, because his interview was actually excellent, and it's about time people call Massacre Mitch by his real name.
That's a joke. That's an absolute freaking joke. That he's going to tie this to the most polarizing issue happening in the United States today around immigration reform. This is very clear cut here. There are people that are getting access to guns that shouldn't be, and the guns are high powered. The magazines hold too many bullets, and they're coming to places like Dayton and El Paso, Walmarts, entertainment districts, churches like Mother Emanuel AME in South Carolina, and they're killing American citizens. Mitch McConnell needs to get off his ass and do something. People are getting killed in the streets in America and nobody's acting, nobody. There's a bottleneck in the United States Senate. The House has sent a comprehensive background check bill that's supported by 80 to 90% of the American people. What the hell are we doing in the United States of America? I'm telling you, people are fed up. We were here in Dayton last night. There were tears and there was rage.
And there should be rage. The shooter managed to kill 9 people in 30 seconds. The cops stopped him within 30 seconds, but he still managed to kill 9 people because of the type of weapon he had. He had an assault weapon, and he's able to do damage very quickly.
So there's a lot of things that divide the Democrats. Gun control is not one of them. And Nancy Pelosi deserves credit too. Immediately when they took charge, they passed 2 pieces of legislation which are completely uncontroversial, supported by, one is supported by 94% of Americans, the other is supported by 88% of Americans. What else do you need? Overwhelming majorities of Republicans support them. So what are they? One is federal background checks. So right now you have to do a background check if you buy it in a store, but if you don't buy it in a store, well, who cares? You just go into a gun show, there's a giant loophole, you buy it anywhere you like in that sense. And so people are like, close the loophole, close the goddamn loophole, okay? Everyone agrees except the Republican Party. In the Senate, blocked it, won't allow for a vote because they don't want to be embarrassed voting in favor of massacres. So Mitch McConnell just says, no, let the massacres happen and we just don't vote on it. And I mean, why are you opposed to the great majority of Republican voters on this issue? If you're not being bribed by the NRA, because you say it's not bribes, it's just campaign contributions for charity and because they care about the American people. If it's not a bribe, why don't you vote with your own voters, let alone 94% of the country? Nope, he blocks it.
He blocks it, but I have to add one thing. He keeps getting reelected. So he keeps turning his back on his very constituents, his voters and what they want, and they keep voting him back into office. So he's a reflection of us. All of these lawmakers are a reflection of us, Jake.
Yeah, no, that one I actually disagree with it slightly. It's a quick aside. Look, Trump is a reflection of the Republican Party. They had a lot of choices and they chose the most reprehensible one. Mitch McConnell and a lot of the Republicans trick their voters with money. What does the money do? They get the money from the NRA and then they run ads. They overwhelm sometimes Democrats in their races with ads. You know what Mitch McConnell ran on to win election last time? He pretended to be in favor of Kentucky's version of Obamacare. The same legislation he tried to kill dozens of times. Mitch McConnell is a gigantic liar, but he had enough sense to pretend to be a progressive so he could win an election. But how did he trick people? Because he has money in politics, he has all that money. Number 2, they run against soft ass Democrats time and time again. Chuck Schumer, the idiot, could not pick a candidate if his life depended on it. Every time he's like, who's the softest, who's the weakest, who agrees with the Republicans the most? Let's go with that one, right? So that's partly why Mitch McConnell wins elections. And the last one is the mainstream media. Oh, I don't know, is it a bribe? I can't tell. So the NRA has given at least $1.26 million to Mitch McConnell. No real American believes that that's anything but a bribe. We understand that the Supreme Court legalized bribes in this country. Now you can give millions of dollars to politicians, but that's an obvious bribe. But the media won't say it. They won't say it. They won't say it. They have to protect their beloved goddamn Mitch McConnell because he's part of the establishment and they're in the same goddamn club. Say it. It's a goddamn bribe. So Trump got $30 million from the NRA, and we have a list of Republicans who've gotten millions upon millions of dollars to sell you out and block this legislation, which brings me back to the second legislation the House passed. They said, look, it's a 3-day waiting period. One of the biggest massacres in the country happened because the guy was allowed to get a gun because they couldn't do the background check in 3 days. So they just want to extend it to 10 days. They do the background check, then you get your gun, okay? It's actually tiny reform. It's actually not gonna fix much at all. It's very politically safe. That's why 88% of Americans are in favor of it. Mitch McConnell blocked it.
Yeah.
No waiting period. Sell more weapons, sell more weapons. NRA, where's my check? You know how much the NRA gave the Republican Party in the 2016 election cycle? $50 million. No one in the country thinks it's anything but a bribe.
So Congress is on vacation right now. The month of August is when they take their recess. I feel like they're on recess all the time. But anyway, lawmakers are calling on Mitch McConnell to call for an emergency meeting so they can vote on this legislation. McConnell responded by saying that he fell and fractured his shoulder, and he's working from home.
Or not working from home.
That's exactly right.
What are you doing from home? Oh, I'm blocking legislation from over here.
Right.
Oh, okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know. My husband literally had shoulder surgery last year. It didn't stop him from walking, didn't stop him from traveling. It didn't stop him from doing the right thing.
By the way, is that your excuse, Mitch? Hey, I had a little problem with my shoulder, so that's why I'm allowing the massacres to happen. Well, then you would earn your nickname of Massacre Mitch. I'm sorry, are we bothering you? Is that what's happening? Did El Paso and Dayton, all those people getting murdered, was that bothering you? Okay, here, I'm gonna read a quick list from Public Citizen of Republicans. This is not anywhere near exhaustive. This is just the biggest people who've been bribed by the NRA. Senator Burr from North Carolina, $6.9 million the NRA gave him. Senator Blunt, 4.5 million. Senator Tillis, 4.4 million. Senator Gardner from Colorado, $3.8 million worth of legalized bribes from the NRA. Senator Marco Rubio, who curiously doesn't want to do anything about these mass shootings, even though they happen in his home state over and over again. Hey, look at that, $3.3 million. I'm sure that's not at all connected to his intransigence on this issue. Senator Ernst from Iowa, 3.1 million. Senator Portman from Ohio, blocking the legislation along with Massacre Mitch, pretending to care about the shooting in Ohio, doesn't give a damn. What does he give a damn about the $3 million he got in bribes from the NRA? Senator Young, 2.8 million, Senator Cassidy, 2.8 million, and the list goes on and on. So finally, I just wanna say, I'm mad at the rest of the media because they won't call it what it is. If you actually called it a bribe, which is what it is, people might get more upset about it, and they might realize, hey, especially if on cable news or the New York Times, by the way, Washington Post, you put up a list of the people being bribed and how much they got bribed by industry, then maybe the voters could have enough information to make informed decisions.
I know, but what would their advertisers think, and what would those politicians think? Would those politicians come back on their shows?
Who gives a damn? Do you know that these politicians are so unpopular? Why do you want them on your show? They're a scourge upon the nation. Who cares if you have a boring ass politician who's gonna lie to you on the show anyway? That's what you're selling out the American people for? That's what you're doing political correctness for? But finally, look, guys, I'm mad at the Democratic candidates and even the most progressive ones. Call it what it is. It's the corruption, stupid. Like Bill Clinton said, it's the economy, stupid. It's the corruption, stupid, on every issue, on the environment, on Medicare for all, and on guns. And call it what it is. Your goddamn colleagues take bribes. That's what they do. Call it out. Would you like to win? If you want to win, you know what? even all the independents and even some of the Republicans might be like, oh my God, I can't believe there's actually an honest politician in the country, and they might be on your side. But no, still, even the most progressive ones, yes, Elizabeth Warren said corruption a couple of times, but overall, oh my God, my colleagues, your colleagues are getting us killed. Call it what it is.
I gotta make one more point. So immediately following the mass shooting that took place in El Paso, Texas, Mitch McConnell tweeted an image featuring tombstones. And each tombstone mentions a political issue that's tied to the left, like socialism, whatever. I mean, and his opponent's name, by the way. His opponent is Amy McGrath.
He's gonna have plenty more opponents. She's picked by Chuck Schumer. Okay, Anna, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know the nickname that Massacre Mitch gave himself recently? This wasn't a nickname on Twitter, and it wasn't by the Democrats. He gave it to himself, the Grim Reaper. Wow, no political nickname has ever been more accurate. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below, and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.